So the Celtics want to trade all of their first-round picks to move up in the draft. And everybody immediately thinks of Okongwu because the whole Celtics need a big guy thing is being talked about a lot. To me, the Celtics would have to move a real player to do this because I don't think anyone who would think about moving outside of the top 10 is going to do it for just more picks later on in the draft. Would the Celtics be willing to move Hayward or Marcus Smart to do this? And I'm not really sure they would. Although Hayward's situation is interesting because he has 1 year left, assuming he accepts the player option. Based on the rumors I've heard, the one team in the top 10 who would be interested in making a move to get better would be Atlanta at number 6. Would Atlanta want Hayward? I don't know. I mean, he's 30. He might be too much older than Trae Young or John Collins, but he would definitely help them. I think they would want Marcus Smart. I don't think the Celtics want to move Smart. So there's a chance that wouldn't even really go anywhere. But let's say Atlanta did want Hayward. Then it kind of becomes a matter of like, well, do the Celtics view the 6th pick as valuable enough to move Hayward? And if they didn't, then what would they want from Atlanta? And if you dive into both teams' rosters and stuff, there's probably something you can come up with, whether it's like Kevin Huerter moving. I know Hawks fans wouldn't want that, but I think it would require something like that. Now, of course, it should be said with Atlanta that if they're going to get Hayward, then they're going to have to send a lot of money back to the Celtics, and that's going to mean either Dedmon's contract or potentially Capella if you want to get real wild. I can picture Phoenix making a bit of a win right now move, but again, I don't think the Celtics are going to move Marcus Smart, and if it was going to be Hayward to Phoenix, the Suns don't have the money to match that without trading some essential player, and I doubt Phoenix would move out of the 10th pick just to get more picks later on. I guess it's possible, but I wouldn't bank on it. And then I think about, like, would Cleveland move down? No. The Pistons, I guess it's possible, but I wouldn't think they really would. The Wizards, I have to imagine no. I think the Knicks want to go up, if anything. I don't think they want to go down. And then you start getting to the Spurs or the Kings, and that's only like 2 or 3 spots ahead of where the Celtics are. I mean, I look at Cleveland at number 5. Is there a Hayward move that works here? Because I would imagine that's the only way Cleveland would trade the 5th pick. And it's like, what, Hayward for Kevin Love? No. I don't think Hayward for Drummond was ever a real thing, but Hayward for Drummond plus the 5th pick plus one other player the Celtics like. Maybe whether Cleveland would view that as a fair move for them, I don't know. Just to state the obvious, if the Celtics were going to move for a center, then I imagine they would not take Okongwu. I mean, if we look at Detroit, is it a Hayward for Blake Griffin move? I would bet no. If we go to the Knicks, is it Hayward for Julius Randle plus whatever other contract the Celtics would want to make the money work? I mean, in theory, it gets you that scoring inside, and we've seen how effective the Celtics are when they have a big guy who can attack switches, but then you got to ask if Randle is a smart enough player to help you win like that in a big playoff series, that sort of thing. Now, would the Knicks want Hayward? I could picture it, but whether they would view him as more valuable than just keeping the pick, I don't really know. And then you get to the Wizards at number 9, and I mean, at a certain point, you get to the point where the Celtics aren't even really trading up that much. And so then it becomes a matter of, well, if they really want Okongwu, you got to start speculating about where would he fall at the most. I mean, the Warriors and the Hornets need a center. Whether Okongwu would actually go in the top 3, I don't know. The Bulls, I would say no. Cleveland, no. Hawks, no. Pistons, they got Christian Wood and Blake, so I would lean towards no. The Knicks are loaded at center. Whether that's entirely a good thing or not is a different question. The Suns have DeAndre Ayton. The Wizards need to get better defensively, so maybe that would be the team for Okongwu, but Thomas Bryant has been a little exciting if you've paid attention to the Wizards like that. So maybe you actually wouldn't have to trade up super high if you were really determined to get Okongwu. Unless he's going to go top 3, in which case you probably don't have a chance. I don't really think the Celtics have got a shot of trading that high up in the draft. Now, in the case of a wing player, I have no idea. Because with the way wings are nowadays, you can put a guy technically at the 2, you could put him at the 4, you could think he can play some small ball center. I feel like you can fit a wing in on pretty much any of these teams. Now, the other thing to think about is this 14th pick from Boston. There's a lot of good players who are going to be available for that 14th pick. A lot of wing players. There's Aaron Nesmith, who I think would be great for them because he's possibly the best shooter in the draft, and Brad has never really had a guy like that. I mean, to me, Aaron Nesmith is like a 6'6" version of Miami Heat Wayne Ellington. There's Desmond Bain, who looks like a pretty strong all-around prospect. My fear with Desmond Bain is his wingspan is not as long as you'd like it to be. There's Sadiq Bey, who's a little bigger. There's Josh Green, who's a pretty classic 3-and-D guy, 6'6", 6'10" wingspan. There's Robert Woodard, who fits into this as well. There's a lot of these guys, and I'm going to think that at least one of these dudes is going to end up being really, really good. And my pick is Nesmith just because of his shooting. Patrick Williams would be another one in this group as well. Anyway, if the Celtics trade the 14th pick to move up, then they will miss out on their chance to get one of these guys. And we see at every draft where somebody gets picked within we'll just say the Celtics have the 14th pick. So somewhere between 14 and like 19, there's always a couple guys who end up being better than guys who go in the top 10. In this previous draft, well, I'm cheating a little bit, but Thibault went 20 and Brandon Clark went 21. In the 2018 draft, we had Kevin Huerter who went 19th, and there's guys in his draft who were selected in the top 10 that I think he's going to be better than, if not already better than. In 2017, Bam went 14th, Donovan Mitchell went 13th, John Collins went 19th, so just this idea of, well, if they trade the 14th pick and get into the top 10, they're definitely going to get a better player. It's not always the case. And in fact, every single draft, there's an example of how did that guy fall so far. And I do fear that if the Celtics trade all three of their picks to get into the top whatever, that they are blowing their chance to select the guy who fell too far. I mean, if they pulled a move like this off and they had to move all three of their picks or maybe two of them, you're just taking away more chances to get that guy and hoping that the one dude you picked with the, 7th pick or whatever, ends up being really good, which it's possible. I mean, we all know how random the draft is. I've seen a report suggesting the Celtics really liked RJ Hampton. I guess that's kind of interesting. He's got potential to do a little bit more off the dribble, but there's questions about his jump shot, and I'm kind of tired of the Celtics drafting guys who need to work on their jumpers, which is partly why I want Nesmith so bad. I just don't know if there's a real move for the Celtics to move up like that, because I think other teams are not going to be enticed enough by just a whole bunch of picks. I think they're going to want a real player, and the two real players the Celtics have to move are Marcus Smart and Hayward, and I just don't know if there's a move there.